But I do want to go to the bottom of this page where it says, my mother always said, and my father always said. And this is going to be a little experiment we're going to have, which I think you'll find fun. And what I need to have you do is pair up in people. Just turn to a certain person next to you, so we have a person A and a person B. So take 10 seconds to do that. Pair up, and one is person A, one's person B, and just choose who's that's going to be. Just do that right now. You have just a few seconds. Okay. Okay. Anybody not have a partner? Okay, we don't have a partner back here. Okay, so you two can pair up. Who else does not have a partner? You don't have a partner? Okay, you're going to pair up with her? Good, okay. Anybody else not have a partner? Okay. You don't have a partner. Okay. Who can be a partner with Jack? Or, I'm sorry, with Buzz. You want to be his partner? Could you? Yeah, go ahead. David will be your partner. Okay. Okay. Now, this is what we listen carefully what we do. This is what we, person A is going to turn to person B in a moment when I say go, and we're going to do this for 20 seconds, okay? And you're going to say the following. My mother always said, and by the way, when I say mother, there may not be a mother figure in your life. Choose some other female figure. My aunt always said, my grandmother always said, my Mrs. McGillicuddy, my third grade teacher, always said, or some female that is influential in your life if it wasn't your mother, okay? And we don't always mean necessarily said. It could also be my mother implied, by her actions or whatever you got from her, okay? But we're going to use the phrase my mother always said, okay? And so you'll be saying my mother always said, and whatever shows up, whatever comes up out of your face, you just say it, even if it makes no sense. Okay? It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to make sense. You don't massage it. Now, person B, you have a really important job, and that is you do not let person A stop. In other words, if person A says, my mother always said, no, you're blowing time, okay? Person B says, come on. That's what you do. Come on. You got to get it out of them. You have 20 seconds to do that. Come on. Now, when you're all done saying that, one or two or three of the things that came out will stand out for you. You'll write those down. Okay, any questions on the instructions? Okay. All right, person A, turn to person B. My mother always said, go. Okay, stop. All right, now, person A, please write down whatever happens to come up to you, whatever you remember out of that seems that makes a difference under my mother always said. Just make a little note of that if you would, okay? Now, we're going to reverse this. Person B, you're now going to say my mother always said, and person A, that very important job, come on, okay? Because you got to keep it rolling out of your face, all right? 20 seconds. Person B, wait. Okay, I'm sorry, what are we waiting for? Oh, you're writing on your walls? No, you're writing. All right, okay. Not yet, no, we're I was going to have the whole group say, hurry up, but I'm going to be nice to you. Okay, person B, turn to person A. 20 seconds. My mother always said, go. All right, you can stop now. Person B, please write down whatever showed up that you think is worth writing down. And while person B is doing their writing down, let me ask here, I'd like to have volunteers from anybody, for any person A, that where you wrote down something that seemed to be somehow meaningful. Here's Gary here, if we could.
Yeah.
Wait for the microphone.
Money's not everything.
Money's not everything. And what does that mean to you?
It's not that important to go for. You don't have to work at that. It's because it's not that important.
Mm-hmm.
Health is more important. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
Sure. And is there some value in that statement?
There's some value in it.
Sure. Money's not everything. There are some people, money is everything. And by the way, I would not, that almost sounds like a criticism. It is not. Everybody's welcome to have whatever focus they want in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And your mother, I would presume, is trying to broaden your focus. But depending on how you take that, she's also limiting you financially.
Exactly.
You know? And it's how you take it.
Right.
You know? Behind you there, Susie.
The first thing that came out was not a word. It was a
Meaning?
disapproval, disappointment. Susie, why can't you do this? Your sisters can.
Ah, okay.
Not good enough.
See, our parents write on our walls, don't they?
Yes, they
Interesting.
sure do.
Interesting. Do we have a tappable issue?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Okay. Anybody else, person A or person B? Go ahead, back to Shamiram.
It's like you are never perfect. If you are in the class, if you're A, you have to be A plus.
Oh, you're never perfect.
No, never perfect.
You can
And
never
the
do
whole-
it good enough.
The whole family, we're 7 children,
Uh-huh.
we're never perfect.
Never perfect.
If we are B, we have to have A. If we are A, it has to be A plus. If we find a parking space, we have to rush and get the parking, otherwise we're not perfect.
I see. By the way, when your parents, it was your mother, right? When your mother would say that, was she trying to help you or limit you?
No, force you to do more stuff.
Yeah, but her intention would be to help you or hinder you.
Hinder.
Well, her intention was to hinder you? Oh, okay. All right. In my experience,
Hinder means,
well, hinder means purposely keep you from doing anything well in this world.
yeah, sort of.
Okay. All right. In my experience, all of those things that seem so limiting and maybe seem so improper are always come from sincerity, especially from parents. They're trying to help you out, okay? They're coming from their truth, right? Coming from their truth. It is the truth to them. It is written on their walls. That is how you get through the world, okay? And if you're going to do it your way, you're going to step outside the rooms. I live in the Palace of Possibilities. You're going to go on these other silly rooms, okay? You're going to go off and dream someplace, you know. You know, I mean, dreams end in heartache, you know, or something like that. That happens in some cases. Anybody else that had a little aha? Let's go over here. Can we have the here we go. Thank
My
you.
mother's always told me that I would never be successful, but especially the last couple of years when I decided to go into this holistic end, okay?
Okay.
It's not normal,
Not normal.
okay?
Yeah. Weirdos do it
So
maybe or something.
therefore, you know, I've really,
Yeah. You've stepped way outside of her room in the Palace of Possibilities.
Exactly.
You're out of her comfort zone.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
But to the extent that's an influence on you and it's on your wall. See, I guess the thing to say is, see, this is a great tool, by the way, to get tappable issues, okay, EFTable issues, okay, tail enders and the like, okay? So now, to the extent that's there and limiting you,
big time.
okay, all right. Well, then we want to tap on it.
Yes,
We want to
yes.
get back to the core issues that I tap on. So that's great.
Sure,
See, so
yeah.
anybody who else said here? Well, here. Let's go back here to Rosa.
Well, my mother had a lot of comments about men, that I won't let a man tell me what to do, I wouldn't let a man boss me around, I won't take that from him, kind
Yeah.
of statements. So
Sure. And what does that mean to you? I mean, do you get the same kind of thing? Or
ask my husband.
well, go ahead, ask him. Ask him. What, does she play that
I
out?
had to work with it. Yeah.
She plays that out. Oh, okay. Well, interesting. By the way, that's neither. We're not pointing out that it's good nor bad. We're pointing out that it's there, and to the extent that influences how your life unfolds, and you want some other way, then you have an issue to deal with. Go ahead.
And as an adult, I would sit around the table with my sisters, and we would talk about how this influences us today, and how
Yes.
it actually interferes with wanting to have
Yes.
a relationship. If you believe men are always trying to control you, then you're not coming from a loving place.
Yes.
So, I've worked on that quite a bit. And
Yes.
It's a work in progress, but I can hear them continuously when I focus on it.
Yes. Okay, I get that. Another one here, Jojo.
People don't like someone who's an itch.
Who's an itch? Spelled with a B, no doubt.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But she didn't say that word because my mother didn't say those kinds of things.
Oh, people don't, say the word again, people
People don't like someone who's an itch.
don't like someone who's an itch. Otherwise interpreted, and I have to guess here a second, I don't know what she meant by otherwise interpreted, nobody likes a cranky person?
Yeah, I would always notice things that were wrong and say why, and,
Oh.
and like I'd pick, and she'd never see anything wrong. So I was like her extreme opposite. She'd drive me nuts.
Oh, she'd never seen anything. You mean like a little Pollyanna?
Yes,
like a Wonder
very,
Girl?
Very,
Yeah.
very.
Okay.
Drive me nuts.
Well, now I'm wondering, see, we never know, and it's not a value judgment of what's right or what's wrong, but I hear something positive in that. In that, she hears negatives out of you, and she's trying to put a little Pollyanna on you. Right. Okay? And maybe that's useful, I don't know. But the important thing here is not what she was trying to do necessarily, is how you took it. So what does it mean? What did it mean to you?
That if I ever made a comment about something that wasn't correct, that I was bothering people.
That you were bothering
That,
people.
you know, like how she felt before, is if you notice that the picture's crooked, there's something wrong with you.
Ah, okay. Well,
Because everybody else, it's okay for everybody else. Why
That
is
would
it
seem to be a
bothering you?
limit to me, because if that's the case, and I happen to notice a crooked picture, and every time I turned around there were things that weren't perfect in this world, and if I just noticed it, there's something wrong with me, I'm going to have a lot of input that says, boy, there's something wrong with me. Okay, now, I don't know to what extent you bought all that and took it all on, but to some degree it's there enough for you to come up when you say my mother always said, and to bring it up here. So it's got some influence someplace, and to the extent you'd rather have it otherwise, you can. Go ahead back here.
I just realized something. It's incredible. But my mother always said, don't bother yourself with men. In college, you know, I'm freaking out about this, but don't think about men, just do your homework. Don't worry about them. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? This is what and I've got society saying, worry about men if you don't get married, and if you don't find the perfect person,
Yes.
then you're going to be, you know, ill.
You'll be
for
an
the
old
rest of your
maid,
life.
maybe.
And what I realize now, just a second, is that my mother was trying to help me by saying, don't listen to the TV, don't listen to all your friends, don't worry about finding Mr. Perfect, just be happy, or, you know, get on with your life and do what makes you happy.
Yes.
I love my mom so much.
And she's trying her darndest from the writing on her walls to help her daughter
Right.
out. That's what she's trying to do. And the only place she can go for wisdom is on her walls. It's her truth. She can't borrow somebody else's. She has to go to hers. And that's how the world works for her. She gives it to you, and then you have to do something with that, because you also have society telling you something else. And you may even have an instinct or two that's talking to you, okay? That could also happen, okay? And so on. Okay, it's almost 11:15. We're going to take a break. There's two simple little things we do. We can boil all this down into the process of changing the consistent thoughts on they become our reality, and that's called erase and replace. Okay. Many of the tools we use will be replacers, if you will, and some will be erasers. It'd be nice to be able to erase some of the writing on that walls and then replace it with others. Okay. And one of the ways that we can erase what's on our walls is through what we just did. That was the aha procedure. And that is by starting to look at what things are really on our walls and evaluating them, just the mere exposure of them starts to weaken them. It doesn't mean they're rid of or anything, but you look at them and you look at the tooth fairiness of them, and that all by itself has some form of erasability just by exposing them. Okay, so that's one reason we did that. The ultimate eraser, however, is with EFT, and basically what you're looking at here is Gary Craig's version of all the "You Are What You Think" books that have been written over the decades, okay? With one very important interjected item, and that's EFT. Never before has anybody had an eraser like this, where somebody could go and look at all the negative stuff that's holding you back, the stuff written on your walls, and literally erase it, you know, with this process. Now, for those that are watching this on film and have never seen EFT before, I'm not going to really teach it here. That's taught in other places, but basically it's a psychological form of acupuncture where we tune in to the whatever negative emotion we have, and we instead of using needles, we tap on various parts of the body to balance the energy system. Once we've done that with great frequency, the emotional issue that we were addressing, the negative, if you will, the writing on our walls we don't want, either weakens or oftentimes just flat out goes away. So it's a very efficient, quick eraser for this. And while I'm not teaching it, it's something that I will spend time on alluding to as time goes on. Now, I want to start in on several replacing items. And one of those is your words. We had a question back here, I think, did we not? Go ahead, David.
You keep saying that it's the summary of all the different You Are What You Think books.
Yes.
And one of the things that that elicits in me is, well, I have a passion around it being more. Because I believe that my experience is that the negative beliefs are more than thoughts, that we hold them in our cells and in our spirits.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that you can do all kinds of stuff with thinking.
Yes.
But when the beliefs are held on a cellular level or on a spiritual level, it's important that they be released on that level too, and that's why it feels like EFT is about releasing them at a cellular level and at a spiritual level, and not just a thought game.
Yes, and thank you. And when we were going through the actual workshop where we taught EFT, one of the things we spent time on was the cognitive shifts that occur underneath the scene, or behind the scenes, where people literally think about it differently. It's literally a belief change that goes on, to use your term, at the cellular level, so to speak. That's a metaphor, and I can't prove that it is a cellular level or spiritual level or whatever. I can tell you it's at an effective level. And if one wants to use EFT or anything else, even to get into more spirituality, they can. They can even use these tools to get into more spirituality if they think their spirituality is lacking, they want to go even farther into it. Thank you. But anyway, one of the tools to help replace the writing on our walls is our vocabulary. Something we use all the time. And when I say our vocabulary, I'm really speaking of your habitual vocabulary, the vocabulary you use with frequency. And I have a little section here I call Watch Your Words, and we're going to illustrate that a little bit, okay? And let's take an emotion, or a word, let's say, or something we want to describe with words of anger, okay? Now, there's lots of different words for anger. There is the word furious, is there not? Say that for me, I'm furious. Say it again, I'm furious. Okay? On the other end of that is a not so loaded word, if you will, is the word annoyed. Say, I'm annoyed. Now, is there a difference in how that feels, by the way? Is there? Somebody raise their hand. Right here, get to my right here. What difference did you notice?
I felt furious. Well, I didn't feel completely furious, but I felt much more intense when I said furious than
it's
I did
a much
when
more intense word.
Yeah.
Okay. And annoyed?
Yeah.
Well, you're annoyed, okay? Show me somebody who habitually uses the word furious when they want to describe, an anger emotion. Oh, I'm furious about that. Oh, that makes me furious. Oh, if they habitually say furious, I will show you somebody who will fly off the handle at the most inane incident. Somebody cuts in front of them on the freeway or something like that. Oh, and they get furious. They don't get annoyed. They get furious. Why? Because every time they say the word, they are conditioning their system. Let me ask you something. When I say the word furious, in order for me to say it, I have to internalize its meaning first, do I not? It just doesn't come out of nowhere. I somehow have to, in an instant, in a computer nanosecond, okay, I have to instantly experience that at some level, furious, okay? And if I do this over and over and over again, that's my habitual vocabulary, when something is of a vexing nature, let's say, furious is what comes up, because that's what I've conditioned myself to do. But this thing is furious. Now, what would happen if you never, ever, ever used the word furious, and always, 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 when something vexing came up, you just said, well, that's annoying. All right? Say it for me. That's annoying. Say, that bothers me. I'm a little peeved about that. Okay? It's much different, isn't it? And so if your habitual vocabulary changes from furious to, oh, it's annoying. It's a tick off. Okay? What's going to happen to your response to vexing circumstances? I will tell you what's going to happen. You will have a much lower intensity about it, okay? The blood pressure will be lower and all of that, okay? Because we condition ourselves with our habitual vocabulary. Now, many of you in here are therapists, okay? And when a client comes in and says a word to you like depression, do you have to internalize that word a little bit? Yeah, you do have to internalize that word before you even know what it means. They say the word depression, you have to internalize that yourself just to know what it means, okay? Do you as therapists get the words depression, devastated, et cetera, with some frequency? Do you sometimes feel pretty low at the end of a day? Do you? Yeah, because it can really drain you because you're hearing it and you're internalizing it all the time. Now, what I'd like to have you do is just follow along with me. I'm going to read some words to you. I'd just like to have you say the words and just notice your feeling about them, okay? I'm depressed. I'm disgusted. I'm ugly. I'm hateful. I'm devastated. I'm desperate. I'm terrible. I'm awful. I'm afraid. I'm dying. I'm lonely. I'm stressed out. I'm exhausted. I'm drained. I'm through. How's that feel? See, you had to internalize. It wasn't, you just didn't say the words, you had to internalize in a mini way, by the way. In a mini way, you had to internalize all those words. It's a mini way. And so if you say those words like one time, it's not like, you know, you had to say the word depression casually in a conversation. You don't all of a sudden go off into some depression thing. In a mini way, you had to experience. But if you're forever and constantly using that word, guess what? You're starting to condition your system, okay? Let's say these words. I'm excited. I'm all a Twitter. I'm passionate. I'm energized. I'm first class. I'm vibrant. I'm wonderful. I'm fabulous. I'm blessed. I'm ecstatic. I'm gifted. I'm magical. I'm unstoppable. I'm awesome. How's that feel? You see? Yeah. This seems so routine and so simple, but yet we use words all day long. And we need to watch our words. Watch the kinds of words that we use and pay attention to them, and we'll find how we are conditioning ourselves. And so if we find ourselves in a down state quite often, or states we don't want, et cetera, listen to your words. Listen to your words, okay? What would happen? What would happen if you frequently use the term awesome? See, you watch my advanced stage steps towards becoming the ultimate therapist, and we have a whole thing about awesome. It goes all the way through. I have the whole audience begin with, I ask them if they're awesome. Are you awesome? They go, yeah, I'm going to ask you now. Are you awesome? Yes! 3 times. Yes, yes, yes. Are you awesome? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, even the word yes is a positive word, is it not? Okay. Yes, thank you. But you watch those tapes and you will see, in one of the most consistent comments that I got out of all that from the attendees and others that watch the tapes. In fact, people will get the tapes, okay, and they'll watch them. They weren't there, and they'll write me back and say, Gary, those tapes are awesome, and they go A, W, all capitals, awesome. But see, awesome's a fun word, and if it's in your vocabulary a lot, not only is it a fun word and is it a worthwhile word for you to help condition your system, what about the people that are listening to it? Now you can overdo words too a little bit, but what about the people who listen to someone who's excited and thinks things are awesome? They're upbeat, aren't they? They use that kind of vocabulary. They're fun to be around, are they not? Okay? They're energized, they're excited, all right? Don't know anybody like that. Okay, now, you might want to turn to a page in your handout that says, replace or downplay your negative words, okay? And this is a little exercise for you that we'll do somewhat together here to kind of get a look at some of the words that tend to be words that we could use other words for that are in our vocabulary, okay? And we're going to go over some of these words, and what I'm going to ask you to do is to give me some replacement words for them, okay? Now, let me give you an extra thought on that. It could either be a word that that would be the opposite of the word you want to have some change, or a word that is less intense than that word. Either one would be okay to do here, okay? A less intense form of the word, or maybe even the opposite of it. But what about the word, we already talked about this about a little bit earlier today, but what about the word can't? See, can't, if you take it literally, it means you draw the curtain. It means impossible. That's what it means. Literally, that's what it means. Can't do it, okay? What's another, by the way, when Michael said, I can't sing, okay? You used the term, did you know? I can't sing? Okay, you said my mother said I couldn't sing, but eventually it was I can't sing, okay? See, can't means impossible, doesn't it? He draws the curtain. It also means he's not likely to try. Because after all, if you can't, you can't. Oh, I can't do this thing in business. Or I couldn't be a salesperson, okay? Or I couldn't give a talk in front of the Rotary Club. I can't. Of course you could. Of course you can give a talk in front of the Rotary Club. But when you say I can't, it has the effect of drawing the curtain frequently, okay? So what's another way, what are other words to use instead of that? We need a microphone here if we can no, well, back here. Who had their hand up? Right here, go ahead.
Whenever I hear the word can't, I automatically have to shift it and say I must. I push myself towards it.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Because to me, I must is it depends on what you're going to use it for, okay? But to me, must is like a big should, and you give me a must. That's what
It
am I
gets me
wallet?
past my fear.
Oh, does it? Okay. If it's useful for you, great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. And so you may want to change can't to must. For you, that would be useful.
It works,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. It wouldn't be for me, by the way, because I have different writing on my walls than you do. Important to recognize.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Back here to Susie.
I used to teach swimming, and I would encourage the little kids to try new things. Oh, I can't. It's like, don't use the C word.
Don't use the C word.
But the word that came in my mind was maybe.
Maybe. All right. How might you use that in a sense? Like, maybe I can do it, or
Maybe I can think about doing it.
maybe I can think about doing it. Okay. All right. Good. All right. Deanne?
I had the word yet. I can't yet.
I can't. Oh, good. I like that. I can't. That opens the door a little bit, doesn't it? So does maybe. Opens the door a little bit. Back behind you there, David.
I like to use the word choose. I choose not to, or I choose to.
Yeah, and that opens the door a little bit too. It's different than can't, isn't it? Okay. Back here to Robin.
When my son was about 5, he was going through a period where he would continually say, I can't. And we made an agreement that he was no longer allowed to say that. He was only allowed to say, I'm having difficulty.
I'm having difficulty. May I suggest another alternative? The one I like to use is I don't know how. I don't know how, or I don't know how yet. I mentioned that earlier here, okay? I don't know how, or I don't know how yet. You see, it's much better. It opens the door to say I don't know how to do it than it does to say I can't do it, you see? Seems like a subtle difference, but it's very important. Do you have something to say, Jim? Yeah, we need a microphone here for Jim. No, well, go ahead, John Louis, and then we'll go to Jim.
I like to use I'm temporarily deferring.
Temporarily deferring, okay. Whatever works for you.
TD.
TD, all right.
I don't always do this, but I'll say I don't want to right now, so it turns from the can to a won't, and then what is it that I won't do, and it's usually some kind of fear-based issue.
Sure.
Anxiety-based.
Sometimes, yeah, right. Okay, go ahead.
Just another one is I haven't.
I haven't, or I haven't yet.
Haven't yet.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Jim.
When I catch myself saying something like that, I add a trailer to it, which is until recently.
Until recently. I can't until recently. Okay. All right, good. All of those are workable. All of those are workable, okay? And they're much more useful than is the word can't. Can't is one of the most limiting words we have in our vocabulary. Okay? And there are very few things that we really can't do. It may be that we can't fly, but even at that, I wouldn't, if I catch myself saying I can't fly, even though at some level I know that if I'm not going to jump off some building and try, okay? I will still say, I don't know how to fly. I was giving this workshop when it was called How to Drive Your Own Bus 10 years ago, and a doctor came up, he's been a friend of mine for years, and he said, Gary, he says, you must think you can do things you're not even close to doing with all this. He says, can men give birth? And I said, well, If you're asking me if I can give birth, I'm not going to say I can't. I'm going to say I don't know how. Okay? And he just shook his head. He didn't get the point. He didn't get the point that I'm not going to run off and go try to have, give birth. Okay? I'm not going to jump off a building and try to fly or stuff like that. But I'm always going to be open to the possibility. Just because I don't think I can give birth and there's no way to give birth in my belief system doesn't mean that's really true. I am open to all of that, although I haven't a clue how to do that, and I'm really not going to spend much time on trying. Okay? What about the word problem? That's also an often used word, problem. Go ahead back here to John, if we could.
Challenge.
Yeah, challenge. I love the word challenge. Because when you replace problem with challenge, it almost gives you a little excitement, doesn't it? Instead of being this problem that has this weight to it, oftentimes the word problem has kind of weight to it, challenge is like, oh, okay. Now, challenge may mean something else to somebody else. Challenge may be even worse than problem, so they can have to find some other word. Okay, but typically, challenge, I like, go ahead, right here.
I'd like to change it to situation.
To situation. That works for you.
Right.
Okay, good. You got to find one that works for you. That's important. That's important. Over here to Margot, please. No, Margot is right here, right here.
Opportunity.
Opportunity, yeah, sure. Yeah, problem, opportunity. There was one back here, I think. Well, here. Oh, the same one. Okay, here's Becky. Go ahead.
Well, I just kind of downplayed it a little to make it a little easier to overcome. I put down niche.
Niche.
It's just a niche.
Okay.
Like an itch, quick.
Yeah, whatever works for you.
Scratch it and get over
Yeah,
it.
sure, whatever works. It's scratch it and get over it. Okay. Stressed. What about the word stressed? What about the word stressed? Who has another word, another phrase or something for the word stressed? Yeah, let's go here. Let's get the microphone.
Energized.
Energized. Yeah. Now, if that works for you, great. What I wrote down here, by the way, was got a lot of energy going. But that's just another way to do it. Okay, there is no the way to do this. Okay, so we want to look for words that work for you. Anybody else have something that was stressed? Oh, such a well-ingrained word, we don't even have alternatives. Let's go back here.
Well, maybe you can help me think of a word for this situation. But when I'm stressed, it's usually because I'm so involved doing stuff I love to do, and I become stressed out because
How about the word involved?
I've been so busy.
How about the word involved? Instead of saying I'm stressed over this, I'm really involved in it.
Okay, that sounds good.
That came out of your mouth, by the way, and it came out in a way that I perceived in writing on my walls that was very comfortable for you and you like being involved. Okay? Better than the word stressed, probably, in your system. Go ahead.
Well, sometimes I think of it and I change it to I'm plugged into this, so I need to unplug from it.
Okay, I need to unplug. That'd be another phrase. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, let's go over here to Jean.
I have a lot on my plate right now.
I have a lot on my plate right now. Yes, go ahead.
My body, mind, spirit need a break.
Need a break. Okay, good. That's good. Sure. Whatever works for you. Let's go on to the next one. We're not going to do all of them here because we're going to time. I'll give you the idea of it. But let me go down a little bit here. Let's go to the next one, which is depressed. Let me just give you the ones I have here for that one, okay? I'm a little down. See, now that's still on the negative side, but it's a lower intensity phrase for most people. I'm a little down, okay? Or I'm turning the corner is another way it might want to be phrased, okay? You may have your own, I'm sure, but in the interest of time, I want to dance through this here a little bit. One that often people will use is failure. You know, they try something, it didn't work, and they'll say, oh, I failed. And of course, failure tends to have a kind of a terminal thing to it. I failed, I'm no good, it's over, I failed. You will rarely hear me use that word, especially when it's referring to myself. It's almost always I stub my toe. Almost always I stub my toe. So you stub your toe healed, you go on. It's a big deal. You just don't stub your toe next time. If you do, you just stub your toe again, that's all. I find that very easy to do. Now let's go on to, how about the term, I'm exhausted? Who could have a phrase for that? Margot here has, raise your hand, Margot, so he knows where you are. Okay.
I'm about to rest.
I'm about to rest, okay. What else? Over here.
I'm pooped.
I'm pooped, okay. Now, does that mean less to you than exhausted? Like a lower form?
Definitely. Pooped is kind of a playful word.
Okay, to you that's what it is. So somebody
yeah.
else may go, oh,
Yeah.
it's all over
Pooped.
like exhausted. But okay, depends on what it means to you. Go ahead, John.
I need an energy boost.
I need an energy boost. Okay? All right? Instead of the, see, you say the word exhausted. I mean, just, even the way the word is pronounced, I'm exhausted. I mean,
I don't know if you're the boss.
I mean, just the formation of the word is.
How about, I need to recharge my batteries.
Who's talking to
I'm
me?
right over here.
Oh,
I need to recharge my batteries.
I need to recharge my batteries. Sure, sure. What did I have down here? Refueling. That's what I put down. Okay, refueling. For those, oh, how about this one? Reject. What do you have for rejected? Anybody have something for rejected? Back here. I don't know your name. The lady with the nice blonde hair, Pat Donovan, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Misunderstood.
Misunderstood. Okay. All right. Misunderstood. That's much better than rejected, by the way, and probably more accurate than rejected in many cases. Okay. What else for rejected? Anybody else? We go back here.
Given an opportunity.
Given an opportunity, and we had one here.
This is from someone
What?
else.
This
This
is
is from someone else, but I've heard they don't know what they're missing.
They don't know what they're missing. Okay. Yeah, and if you use that, see, somebody can say that phrase, they perceive some rejection, and instead of using the word rejection, they say they don't know what they're missing. They may or may not believe that at some level, but I will tell you this, if they consistently say it, it's like an affirmation. If you consistently do it, consistently do it, consistently do it, it's sort of like I earn easily and consistently so many dollars. After a while, you start to shift what's going on here. Especially if you can EFT underneath, tap away some negative thing in the way of that, then it's much easier for that to become believable. But the more you say it, the more believable it becomes. Okay, that's the essence of affirmations. I put down here, give a new input. For rejected, give a new input. And for cold calling, and this is for salespeople. Most people just can't stand cold calling. Oh, cold calling. And let's have it.
Making new acquaintances.
Making new acquaintances. Okay, good. Who else? Somebody else over here. Go ahead, Tom.
Prospecting.
Prospecting. Okay, now, is prospecting a less intense word for you than cold calling?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, and it is for a lot of people.
Because I'm looking for the gold.
You're looking for the gold. Okay, that's what you put together with it. Okay, I didn't put that together, but okay, all right. Now, I have one that I really happen to like on it, and it may or may not fit for you, but cold calling to me is rapport practice. And if you'll think about that, if you approach cold calls, if you will, as a method to practice rapport, are you not challenged, if you will, in cold calling with them? Because you've got to get rapport. That's the whole purpose of it, is to see somebody you don't know and get rapport. Okay, that's the bottom line of it. Okay. Okay. Well, let me see where we're going here. Okay, we have just a couple of minutes if there's any kind of questions on that subject. Any questions or any other kind of input from anyone here? Okay, we need to take a quick break while they change the tapes. When you get up in the morning, chances are there's a routine of some kind or other you go through. Like you get up in the morning, and if you're living with someone, while you'll be speaking to them, and of course what you'll be hearing is the writing on their walls, okay? Because that's what they talk about all day long, and that's what reflects out of their mouth. It's the writing on their beliefs and attitudes. And so if you're living with someone, or you have a roommate or somebody you see with regularity, even at the workplace or whatever, they are forever reflecting to you the writing on their walls, their beliefs, etc. And so they're writing on your walls accordingly. Is it in big letters? I don't know. But they're writing on your walls. And when you listen to the radio in the morning, maybe on the way to work, chances are you listen to the same radio station, typically. Same announcer, same talk show, maybe. Okay. Are you not getting a consistent bit of thinking from someone else that is being written on your walls routinely, day in and day out? Do your children and your parents, if you see them regularly, do they not consistently write on your walls with their beliefs and their attitudes? It's the only thing they can write on your walls with. Okay. When you watch television, do you tend to watch the same programs that tend to give similar messages? Okay. And so these are all what I call your sources. See, your walls are being written on at the moment. They're written on at the break when you talk to somebody. And people are either, when they're talking to people, they are either giving you brand new input that you've got to somehow or other blend in with all the rest of the writing on your walls, or they're reinforcing stuff you already believe. And it's really kind of fun, by the way, to have a conversation with somebody who has your beliefs. You know, it's called rapport, is it not? You nod your head, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I believe so-and-so's a jerk. We both agree on that. Yes, 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 okay? That's what happens, you know? And so you agree on something, you both don't like the same, you know, baseball team or the same movie or whatever it is, you know, because the messages that come out of all of that, you agree on. That is the writing on your walls. So anyway, my point is you have all these sources that go on all the time. And they're not all positive, by the way. Wouldn't it be nice if all of our sources were simply positive? Wouldn't it be nice if every single day of our life we sat in a seminar called Palace of Possibilities? Would we not just get a big dose of positive day in and day out? Would that be nice? Okay. That isn't the way it works. You will walk out of this room into the great big writers on the walls out there, which is the TV that you watch and the radio that you see and the books that you read and the people that you see in your family and the clients and this da 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 da. They're always writing on your walls, okay? Always. And so it might be useful to do what I call shift your sources, okay? Now there isn't any magic way, no single way to do that necessarily, except to start recognizing who it is out there in your environment that is laying the negatives on you, writing negatives on your walls. And either stay away or start being so positive you start writing on their walls so you're getting different writing back. One or the other. Somebody's got to have it. EFT them, you know, get rid of all that stuff. And that's not a facetious comment, by the way. You can do that if they are cooperative. And you can shift all this negativity that comes out. I know some people, even in the community where I live, that it's just not possible to have a conversation with them. I'm going to say it differently. See, watch your own words. I said it's just not possible. I don't know how yet to have a conversation with them where they don't come up with non-stop negatives. There seems to be no topic whatsoever that the negative doesn't come out from them. I don't talk to them. I mean, if I see them socially, fine, you know, but we may talk for a few minutes. But basically, it's they don't run in my circles, so to speak. Okay? It's not that I'm being mean and ignoring them. I just choose to go other places, you know. And I'm very aware that when I'm sitting down with somebody negative, that I'm starting to go like this, you know, and they're writing on my walls, you know. And it's not all, you know, positive and Pollyanna here. I may got a bunch of stuff written on my walls too, and you can trigger it, and you can start getting me negative, and it can get me angry about some things, and so on and so forth, you know. And but I tend to want to stay away from that. One of the things that I did, and I'm just going to suggest this to you, I did for a long time. I haven't done it so much recently. I haven't needed to. And that is, I would get books, mostly tapes, and I would call my car Success University, and I would get these tapes from Nightingale Conant and, you know, all the inspirational type stuff, you know. I've gone through a lot of Tony Robbins stuff, and there's pros and cons in my own writing on my walls about Tony Robbins. A lot of stuff he does I really like, so I had a lot of his tapes, very positive. Wayne Dyer, I love Wayne Dyer. I could listen to Wayne Dyer forever, Dr. Wayne Dyer, okay? And so I have a lot of his tapes, and I'll put them in my tape player in my car. Success University is my car. How many hours do you spend in your car? Okay? So instead of turning the radio on and hearing about all the disaster in the world, I listen to these tapes. I want to tell you a story. This is a true statement. When the Berlin Wall opened many, many years ago, I didn't know it for 3 days. I rarely turn on the news. The only reason I even know the news is I walk by the newsstand and I see a headline. Okay? The only reason I knew about the Hurricane Floyd recently is I saw it on the headline. I don't turn the television set on to watch the news. I don't remember the last time that I saw the news on television. Okay? Because basically it's just filled with negatives. You know, what's wrong in the world? And I don't want it. So I shift my sources. We're going to talk about, you know, some songs a little bit later on and some jingles and things like that. But, you know, there's a lot of songs that go on in my head that I really happen to like. Yeah, we have a comment here or a question or something. Yeah.
When I hear you talk about when you're around negative people that they're writing on your wall,
yeah.
If your business is to be with people who are, you know, doing a lot of that negative releasing.
That's right.
Is there a way that you can internally convert
this room
that?
is yeah, this room is filled with therapists that are subject to that over and over and over again. And John has a comment here, but let me comment for the moment. One of the ways to do it is to make sure you get a big dose of the positive, like these tapes I'm just talking about. They're not that expensive. You can play them over and over and over and over and over again. You know, that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to flip in your head. See what goes on in my head, because I deal with people that way myself, okay? And they have all the negatives, etc. And in fact, I have listed at home. Someday I'm going to put this on our email form, our website. A lot of reframes. When people are saying a negative thing, I have a reframe for it, and I've written these down. And when people talk to me a lot of times, what they do is they trigger the reframe in my head. So they'll say a negative thing, and the reframe goes off in my head. Okay, or a reworded thing, like somebody says, "Well, I can't stand cold calling." And I say, "Well, you mean report practice? That's what goes on in my head." Okay. Oh, but I feel so rejected. You mean you got a new input? And that's what goes on in my head. Okay, so that instantly reduces all of that. But am I going to totally neutralize all of it? Oh, probably not. Probably not. Maybe I can. Maybe I can. But it's just something to recognize. You got this ongoing input. You can also recognize that when you say these words back to them, like somebody says, like a client says, "I'm so depressed." Okay, when you say back to them the word depressed, you are at the same time internalizing that word to yourself. Use it habitually, and they're going to just add to it. So I would come back with different words, and that's, by the way, going to help them when you do that, because you are restating it in some other term. Now I know depression is a kind of a clinical term, but that doesn't mean you have to be clinical in your sessions. Okay. John had a comment back here.
When someone says something that's quite negative, I may verbalize it, or if not, I internalize, cancel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people do that. I've heard that. I don't have to do it myself, but I know a lot of people like to do that, cancel. I would just as soon turn it around in my own head for a new meaning, okay? And also, I always have in my head when I hear that, I mean, it's sort of an automatic thing that goes off, sort of like, well, you know, that's in your way, you know, and I'm trying to help, you know, it all this time. So, you know, that phrase is in your way. I don't articulate this as exact words, but it's the attitude that comes up. You know, that's in your way, and so with some frequency, I might say, well, you mean you can't, or you don't know how yet? You know, and we can, when you're in session, you can actually take their exact words. And by the way, most clients that I deal with actually like this word thing, because you'll catch them on their words. And they know what you're doing, and you can't do it derogatorily, you know. But wouldn't it be nicer if you just didn't know how yet instead of you can't, you know? And do that kind of thing. See, but you need to do something. But just to sit there and have this barrage, if you will, of negative input day in and day out, it does have its effect. I guarantee you it has its effect, unless you have some neutralizing things to do about that. And you have to develop those. And go ahead.
I just want to make a comment. When I was confirming a client a few weeks ago, she said to me, I'm very discouraged because I have a problem with, I'm going through menopause and I can't lose weight, and she was upset. And I said, well, it is sometimes a bit of a challenge, but
yes,
we'll work on this. And when she came in, she goes, I want to thank you, because I was feeling very upset about it and hopeless. And when you said challenge, I realized, oh, this means we can change this. This
yes.
doesn't mean it's immovable.
And the moment she said hopeless,
mm-hmm.
I would pick up, gee, that's an interesting word.
Mm-hmm.
Are you really hopeless? Or are you, what would be another term for hopeless, by the way? What would be another term for hopeless? Or have you just not found the way yet? Okay. Well, okay, clueless. Clueless. Oh, you guys. We have a question back here.
You don't.
Wait for the microphone.
You don't read the news. You don't look at the news.
Rarely.
How would you know when you go out there is a tornado?
Well,
who died?
Where I live in California, there aren't tornadoes, so I don't really concern myself with it.
Earthquakes.
But see, that kind of thing you hear. Your neighbors tell you that. There's a tornado coming, okay? I'm not really concerned with it. Where I live, they have earthquakes, and nobody announces those.
I know news is bad, but don't you have to be in?
Well, maybe. I can only tell you, I'm 59 years old, and it's never bothered me. The fact that the Berlin Wall opened 3 days before I knew about it did not affect my life in the least. And maybe I'm going to miss something someday I should have had in time. Maybe I'm going to do that. But in the meantime, I'm going to be happy and delirious and, you know, in my own illusory state.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, what else is Wonder Boy to do, you know?
Stop making fun of me.
I'm not making fun of you, dear. I wouldn't do that. Not me. Mm-mm. We have a few minutes for lunch. I want to introduce something. I've got several pages here in the handout on affirmations. Affirmations, I think, are really very useful. I have several pages, but that does not necessarily mean because I have several pages that it is that much more important than anything else. It's just it takes me that long to discuss them a little bit. But I'm going to read you something here for a moment. Okay? Affirmations are among the most powerful tools we can use for personal transformation. They are highly reliable, easy to use, and are based on impeccable logic. Now, who disagrees with that even a little bit? Somebody does, surely. Oh, come on. Here, back here. Tom has a comment. How do you disagree with that?
What's written on my walls is affirmations don't work.
Okay, right. And that comes from what? Experience?
My own experience.
Okay, so you've done affirmations and you've, like, what would an affirmation be that didn't work? Do you recall one?
Well, yeah, I'm not making the money I'd like to make.
So you had a money kind of affirmation.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
It didn't work.
Okay. Okay. All right. Therefore, this statement, they are highly reliable, easy to use, and are based on impeccable logic, doesn't quite fit.
No, my brain goes bullshit.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. All right. Well, your writing on your walls goes
right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Who else has a response to that? Right here, Margot. Raise your hand so he knows who Margot is. Okay. Yeah.
I used to just always think of Stuart Smalley and just how silly it is. You know, Stuart Smalley, he would sit in front of the mirror and say, you know, I am good enough and doggone it, people like me.
Yeah.
And then one day he had, this was on Saturday Night Live, and he was teaching Michael Jordan to say those things, and it was just so silly. It was funny, but it was very silly.
Yeah. So
it was stuff of ridicule.
Yeah. So the idea of that they are highly reliable, easy to use, and are based on impeccable logic, maybe not. And that would be a nonsensical statement according to your experience. Okay? Who else? Go ahead. We have Myron here.
What comes up after is, but the reality is.
Yeah, it's the tail enders.
Yeah.
We talked about that a little bit before. Other comments here before we go into tail enders? But go ahead. Mike?
I just finished a course. The whole idea was that if the belief that you have is not a true core belief, then the affirmations will not work because you really do not want that. So you have to find the core belief and then use the affirmations to change it.
You have to use the affirmation for a core belief.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. And what if the core belief is, what if you want to do this? You want to affirm that you can fly like Superman, and your core belief is you can't. Or you don't know how yet, depending on how you work.
Well, I guess let's take a look at it from another standpoint. I want to fly. Now, if I want to fly is a major, serious concern for me, then all the affirmations that I use will allow me to take the lessons and
No, I don't mean
finish
fly
the
that
flight.
way. I mean flap your arms and take off. Jump off a building and like Superman, you know, speed through the air.
Ah, that's a good question.
Well, the core belief is you couldn't do it.
That's true.
Okay.
You would
All
be
right.
able to.
But I think you're touching on something else that's going to be useful here.
Okay.
And not that your comment is not useful altogether, but see what you're talking about. When you're talking about core beliefs, I'm going to rephrase that into what we call tail enders, and I think you'll see how that fits as we go in. Somebody else had a comment back here.
I was just going to say that it sounds like the tail enders that you're talking about, finding out what's underneath.
Yeah.
Underneath. So you can find out what it is you really want. I mean, you could be saying an affirmation for something that sounds like what you want.
Yeah.
But it might not be really what you want.
See, here's the point. See, and this is the beautiful thing. I will say this again, okay? I'm going to read this again. Affirmations are among the most powerful tools we can use for personal transformation. They are highly reliable, easy to use, and based on impeccable logic. But what we have to understand is, what is the true affirmation? When somebody says, I earn easily and consistently X dollars a year, and they have a few tail enders that come up and says, yes, but, or if you do, you know, your father's not going to like you. You're going to beat your father, okay, at it, and there's consequences for that. Or you don't have the skill, you don't have the talent, or only greedy people make that much money, and da 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 da. Those are the tail enders. They are the true affirmation, and they work, do they not? They will keep you right where you are. Okay? And you will notice this because often you'll do an affirmation of something that consciously you may like to have, but after a while, you not only don't see results, but it becomes uncomfortable to say it. In fact, often you'll say you're lying to yourself. I'm lying. That's the phrase. I'll lie to myself, which is another phrase, another way of saying, you know, I get so uncomfortable saying this because it's violating some other truths there. So these tail enders are coming up, and that's your true affirmation. And what you're trying to say does not fit with the true affirmation, the tail ender. Okay? And that's why what you're saying doesn't work, but the true affirmation does. It keeps you right where you are. So the beautiful part of creating an affirmation that's going to take you where you might consciously like to go, like for money or weight or something like that, is that it will bring up for you your tail enders. And here is where EFT is so marvelous in this process. Never before have we had something like this to actually get to the tail enders. Those are the true affirmations that brings up the issues to tap on. It brings up the negatives that we need to unearth. Okay? And then we can dig into those, tap on those, and get those out of the way. And once you've done that, once you have gotten all the tail enders out of the way, then when you lay down the affirmation, it'll just lay down with little or no competition. Okay? We have a question. You need to come up in the light a little bit, Tim, if you want to comment. Come on up. Wait. We got a microphone.
I can't but not comment on this. So that means...
I can't, but you mean you don't know how yet? Go ahead.
Oh, I know how. So what I'm hearing you say is, if you found the tail enders around me being able to fly and I tapped them, then I could fly. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay.
No. We have to do a little realism in here, okay? Now, maybe you actually can fly, but I'm not going to say go off and fly, okay? See, another part of the affirmation is it has to be believable. In order for an affirmation to work, it has to be believable to you, okay? Now, the question is, you know, if there's somebody who's deranged enough to believe they can fly, can they fly? Well, probably not. So, you know, there may be a little limit out there someplace on the outskirts someplace. But take the essence of what I'm saying, okay? It's now 12:30. It's lunchtime. Earlier I said, I was talking about my mother writing on my walls. I said I was going to, this is going to be a real lot of fun, I'll tell you, okay? You don't know what I need to do here. We're going to get through it somehow, though. Somebody else wrote on my walls, big time. It was my coach in high school. At first, he was my baseball coach. Okay, when I was a sophomore, he was the baseball coach. But later on, as I was a senior, he became the football coach. And so baseball was really my passion for years and years and years. And football became my passion after a while because I ended up being pretty good at it despite my size. And, you know, a coach, just like a parent, is in a position to really write on your walls big time. And a coach has a way of, especially for a young man with such a macho game as football, if you will, to be able to write manhood and you can do it and all that kind of stuff. You can really do that, okay? And Coach Ben Hammerschmidt, if you wouldn't mind putting his picture up here, I've got a photograph of him, was my football coach. And in 1978, I got a telephone call from the principal in that high school. And he said, you know, Coach Hammerschmidt is retiring, and we're going to have a number of his athletes. There's going to be 500 of them actually came from around the whole country. And they asked me to be on the dais, if you will, to say a few words. And I said, and this is about 3 days before it's going to happen because they couldn't find me. They didn't know where Sea Ranch was or even where I lived or anything else, okay? And so I said, sure. But I had no idea what I was going to do. I only knew that I wanted to do this. I got airplane tickets to go on down to Riverside, California, which is Southern California. I was in Northern California. And so I thought, well, what am I going to do? You know, what am I going to say? And so I sat down and I started writing a poem. Now, I never wrote a poem before. And it's interesting sometimes where when you get yourself out of the way, things occur to you. And I sat down and I wrote this poem, which took about 5 minutes to read. I'm going to recite it to you here in a minute, I hope. Took me, I don't know, a couple hours or whatever it was. But it just sort of flowed. It wasn't perfect. Not every rhyme was there, but the concepts just kept rolling out, kept rolling out, kept rolling out. After I got it all done, I went back for 20 minutes or so, cleaned it up a little bit, got up the next morning, looked at it, spent another 5 or 10 minutes, typed it up, got on the airplane, and went down to Riverside, California. Okay? And when I got there, I asked Nick Tavaloni, who was the sort of the master of ceremonies, if I could go last. Okay, and he said, sure. So a number of people came up, and they told jokes and nice stories about Coach Hammerschmidt, Coach Ben, okay? And it came my turn. It's gonna be fun, I'll tell you. Okay. And I stood up, and on the dais, my coach, hold on, I'll get it, believe me, I'll get it. My coach was sitting, his wife was sitting here, and my coach was sitting here, and there were half a dozen people there, and I don't know, 10 people or so in that direction. And so he's here to my left. And so I started reading this poem. I need to tell you, just so you know from a timing point of view, this was 21 years ago, approximately, okay? My coach is in his 80s now. I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. One is to give you some idea of how important it is to write on somebody else's walls, okay? Because you have the opportunity. You're the coach to somebody else. You're the parent to somebody else. And to write on somebody else's walls, whew, it's important. The other thing I'm going to do is just a tribute, because when I'm done with this, I'm going to send it to Coach. Okay, this whole thing. Whew. This may take a lot longer than I was thinking, so stay with me, okay? Stay with me. The title of the poem is A Voice. And I have to tell you this, too. I read this poem at that time, because I didn't have it memorized. And I gave the poem to my coach and did not keep a copy. It was symbolic of I wanted to give it to you. And me keeping copies, somehow it didn't quite fit. Well, they ended up sending me a copy back, but I've never read it since. I would go through life for the last 20-some-odd years, and every once in a while I'd be driving, or I'd be running on the beach or whatever, and this poem shows up in my mind, word for word. And that's what I'm going to do today. I'm not reading it. Okay. May I tell you a story about a voice that I hear? It's often been with me for the past 20 years. It guides me through life and helps set me straight as the voice of my coach, a man who was great. The voice doesn't speak nor come on with a blare, but it is nonetheless constantly there. I remember a time when playing third base when the bases were loaded and I lost some face. 2 men were out and the score was tied, and I was asleep, I could have cried. A gentle liner was hit, I reacted too slow. It struck my glove and bounced to and fro. The ball rolled forward, the runners went speeding, and inside my body was a heart quickly beating. I raced for the ball that long afternoon and hurled it to first to big Dan McCune. Dan made a stretch as far as he dare, and out, said the ump, but by less than a hair. There was no criticism, nor was there reproach from the voice that still guides me, the voice of my coach. He could have said, "Where was your head?" or given me reason to wish I were dead. But as I jogged off the field, I heard Coach Ben say, "It was only your hustle that made that good play." Of the good things he spoke, not of the bad, and those I still hear as though he were Dad. How lucky I am to be privileged to sit in the comfortable presence of Coach Hammerschmidt. And another time I clearly recall in the year 58, approaching the fall, when Coach Ben made a comment I'll never forget. It's always been with me, on that you can bet. But a little history must now set the stage for that comment so large that no one can gauge. 'Twas a football scrimmage, the first of the year. They had the ball first. We all felt some fear. Their quarterback faded and threw a bad pass. It fell in my arms without any class. I claimed no award for the next event, for I ran unchallenged for a score hell-bent. Of course it felt good, though the feat was not great. It created a high I recall to this date. 1 week later, just before our first game, the students assembled. All of them came, and Coach Ben took the mic and told of our team. And last week's scrimmage, he began to beam. Whew. He told of that touchdown that was to their plague and referred to me then as the great Gary Craig. Now, he didn't say good or pretty darn fair. Great was the word that filled all the air, and standing was I amidst all of my peers, using all of my manhood, to disguise many tears. My soul had been filled with much self-belief by Ben with his stature as commander-in-chief. No one but Ben could say what he said and impact a young boy and fill up his head, for Coach Ben to me was bigger than earth, with the power to fill me with all that self-worth. The season went on, his words in my soul, and more than just once we crossed a few goals. Now the years have gone by, it's 2 decades hence, and the voice is still with me, still making sense. It calls to me often, letting me know that nothing can stop me wherever I go, for those who can and those who cannot are separate only by the size of their thought. Now today is the day for a splendid occasion, to honor my coach, a man of persuasion, to give him some love from those who have taken and let him retire from a field he has shaken. But I cannot permit that voice to fade out. It must carry on so that fewer will doubt. So the voice of my coach will not dormant lie. It'll live on and on after Ben and I die. For I have a son, his age is now 7. Adam's his name, a descendant from heaven. And my son has a nickname that will help him, I beg. Phew. For I often call him the great Adam Craig. I did it. Okay. We need to take this out. Good. Thanks.
You're the greatest.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I didn't know if I was going to get through that or not. And my coach will love it, I will tell you. Okay. Okay. Just take that one off for the moment because I want to give a little preamble here. I'm going to do something else. And this is related to the Palace of Possibilities. It's not really in your handout or anything like that, but it draws on the principles. And I call it you get what you focus on. You know, we go through this world and we focus on what's wrong in this world or what's right in this world, and we get what we focus on. When I give you this example of my friend, I guess I didn't give that example on camera, okay. But anyway, if you're a pessimist and you focus on what's wrong in this world, that's what you get. If you're an optimist and you focus on opportunity, that's what you get. You get what you focus on, and nowhere is that more clearly described and no more clear example of that I have in what I call the pole story. It's a true story that I did, 1986, I think it was. I was in Hawaii, and there was a 2-week-long motivational seminar, if you will. And there were several events we were to do during this 2 weeks, which were announced to us in advance. One of them was we were going to take off our shoes and our socks, and we were going to walk across 40 feet of hot burning coals at the end of this, okay? Now, I had already done that before, like for 10 or 12 feet. And I got through it, but my feet were just a little bit sunburned, but it was okay. I was you know, quite thrilled with the fact that I could do that. But this was going to be many times longer, 3-4 times longer, you know, 35, 40 feet, okay? And so my focus was on that fire, walking on that fire, okay? And for months before this, I'd be out jogging at Sea Ranch in the morning, and I'd take off my shoes, even though I was on the sand, and I would, the way you do it is you walk across these cool moss, you got to put your, that's how you do it, you know, you get in state and you do that. And I would do that over and over, and I wouldn't do it just for 40 feet, I'd do it for 300 feet, so I'd stay in state, and I'd practice and practice and practice, you know, because I did not want to come out of mental state and have hamburger for feet. So that was my focus. The other thing we were going to do is we're going to climb this 50-foot pole. Now, they had these little spikes on it. What you do is you climb the pole, and you get to the top of the pole, you stand on the pole, then you leap off, and you catch a trapeze that's about 12 feet out there, okay? Now, all this time you have this little harness on, okay? So we don't do anything really stupid here, okay? And there's somebody down at the bottom there that's watching, and if you happen to fall, they do a little thing here, and it catches you in midair, and they drop you. You just have to trust this fellow's watching, I guess. You know. But at any rate, to me, that was a non-event. I had lots of athletic experiences, played a lot of sports of all kinds, and while I had never climbed a pole, stood on top, and jumped off and catch a trapeze, there was nothing about that I found the least bit intimidating or difficult, okay? And so there was about 1,500 people in this seminar, and I was in what's called a team, about 40 people, and I would tell my team members, you know, how easy that was. Because they'd come to me and they'd say, are you ready for the pole? Are you ready for the... what were they focusing on? The pole. They were focusing on are you ready for the pole, Gary? I'd say, no, that's not a big deal. You know, I'm the fire, but not the pole. I mean, who couldn't climb a pole and jump off the top of it? It's no big deal, you know. Do that in my sleep, you know. So, you know, I don't have any fear of height or anything to speak of. I don't have any height phobia. And so it just was a non-event to me. And as a matter of fact, when other teams were doing this, and I'd happen to walk by and say, I didn't even pay much attention. They, you know, whatever problems they were having, I just didn't, that was their problem, not mine. Okay. Now, about a week into this 2-week-long workshop, it was our turn. Wait a second, I forgot something. Here we go. It was our turn, okay? And so it was announced, and so I ran out of the meeting room out to where the poles were. And I wore a T-shirt. And this is the exact T-shirt I wore, okay? Talk about a hot dog, all right? This is the T-shirt I wore. I had some shorts on, and this is my T-shirt, okay? My Superman T-shirt, all right? And so I'm wearing this thing, and I put this harness on and all that, and I'm going to climb this pole. I was the first one to sign up, the first one, you know. I'm going to be an example for everybody, okay? Watch me fly, if I can borrow from something else we were talking about earlier, okay? Anyway, can we see the first slide up there, okay? So one of my friends there took photographs of all this. That's why I had it, so I had to build this. So here we're beginning up, if you can look at my face, I got all this enthusiasm. I'm ready to do this thing. This is really fun, okay? So I start climbing up this. You can see the harness on and all of that, okay? So I start climbing, and I get part way up, and they fooled me, because instead of having the spikes and the things in the right place where you just climb on up, they moved them around. And why don't you put the next slide on? Because I got part way up and moving around, and I didn't know what it kind of broke my enthusiasm for a moment, because I had to, you know, move my foot around and find a way to do this, you know, and finally I did it, and then I started to go back up, okay? Now, up I go. Right? I get to the top, okay? Let me see if I can do this. I get to the top, and as it turns out, the top is about this big. It's about the size of a dinner plate, okay? Just barely big enough for 2 people, or for 2 feet to fit on there, okay? Not 2 people, 2 feet, okay? And there it is, and it's like this is it, only this would be actually a little higher if I could. It would really be more like this, okay? But I didn't have a high enough stool. It was more like even my foot on this rung was here, and the actual top was there, but you'll have to use your imagination here like that. And the other foot was down here like that. Now, I got up there, and now I'm up here. But how am I going to get both feet on that thing? I mean, I don't know how to do that. I probably said I can't at the time, by the way. But I don't know how to do that. I've never done that. How am I going to do that? Remember, I got this foot under here, you know, or my knee under my chin. And so I began to focus on what my problems were. First of all, I don't know how to do this. Secondly, down there is all my team members I open my mouth to. Okay? And they're sitting there watching this guy with a Superman S on his shirt. Why don't you do the next slide? That's where I am at the top. If you will, if I may use the word, I'm stuck at the top, okay? It's an appropriate word for what was going on at the moment. So there I am up there, and I don't know, also up there, the wind is blowing more so than down here. They said 50 feet. I don't believe it. It's more like 60. It was way up there. Okay, and so the pole is actually moving with the wind, and it seems like it's going like this, you know, but it's not. It's really 2 or 3 inches. But that's very bothersome to me. Okay, all those people down there bothers me. And while I have no height phobia, I now realize heights is not my favorite experience. Okay. So what's going on here is I am focusing on what's wrong, okay? And that is what I'm getting. I'm getting what I'm focusing on. I'm looking down, and there are all my problems, challenges, whatever you want to call them. They're down there, okay? All those people, the moving pole, all of that. So the thoughts in my mind were, well, how am I going to get out of this? You know, can I just kind of trip and fall, you know? And they'll catch me, I hope, or whatever. What am I going to do here, you know? Because I was not focusing on where I was going. I was focusing on what's wrong, what's in my way, what are my limits. Okay, that's what I'm focusing on. That's what I'm getting. Okay, and then thank goodness we have some writing on our walls that we pay attention to now and then, and we put in our head and write on our walls and so on. And this little voice says, "You get what you focus on." Showed up. Thank you. Thank you. What I did was I shifted my eyes to the trapeze. Changed my focus. Okay. Now that's where I'm going. And when you change your focus, and I intently went there, and I remember as I was doing that, some person from way down there said, "You can do it, Gary," and I went. They knew I was very internal. They just shut up, okay? Because I didn't want anything. I didn't want any interference with this. And what's interesting, when I started to look at the trapeze, I began to ask myself questions like, how can I do this? Instead of say, I can't do this, it's how can I do this? What could I at least try? Okay, I've never done this before. So I thought, well, the best thing you could probably do is, if you can, try to get this one foot on top, like that. Then that's a start. I don't know where you go from there. You know, like this, okay? And so very gradually, I kept my eyes where I was going, you know, up there, and I put foot, and I just kind of had to move it around like this so it was on the proper half of this small dinner plate size top of this pole. Now what I need to do, by the way, when I'm doing this, I need to point something out to you. The moving pole, somehow or other, wasn't even noticed by me. You see, you get what you focus on. And if I'm focusing on all the things that are wrong, I'll start to see that moving pole. And the fact that I was way up high wasn't bothersome to me, and those people weren't bothersome. Nothing was bothersome to me. I was focused on where I was going. It's amazing how the problems you think you have, the challenges you think you have, sort of fade away when you don't give them weight. Interesting little thing. They were all there, but it depends on whether I was giving them weight or not. So anyway, we're there. So what I had to do, you know, was I had to somehow or other do this magnificent unfolding of a deep knee bend from one leg, which I'd never done before, and put this, so I could put this other foot on here. Okay, now, I'm going to try this, all right? Okay, and then we might put the next thing on. Hot dog that I am, once I got it, it's this, okay? Superman shirt and everything, you see that? But that comes from, you get what you focus on. Now, I had this harness on, and I had this rope that went off to another rope out there where the trapeze was. Okay, and I'm looking out at that trapeze. And that's 12 feet's a bit farther than I think I can make it. You know, maybe I can do it. But as long as I'm focusing on where I'm going, I start asking the right questions, and I start getting other inputs. And the question I was like, well, how could I do this better? And what I started to do is take this little slacked rope, and I moved it back and forth so the trapeze would swing. Okay. And then I inched over so I had my toes just slightly over the edge of this pole. And when it got to the certain point where it's closest to me, or I timed it that way, I leaped out. We got another thing here. Here's the leap. The leap. Somebody caught the leap. Okay. And next slide. I actually caught it. Okay. Now. Yeah, thank you for the applause, but that's not the point of the story. The point of the story isn't Gary catches the trapeze. There's a message on this pole, and it's you get what you focus on. It wouldn't have mattered diddly whether I caught that trapeze or not, because the real message was you get what you focus on. As long as I'm focusing on why I can't or how I can't or et cetera, what am I going to get? All the reasons why not. Okay? We're all very good at that, by the way. Has anybody ever done that? Ever? Or do we not do it with great frequency? Okay. Anyway, thank you for that. I just wanted to point that out to you. We're going to resume with the rest of this, but we need to get some of this out of the way. So